When it comes to solo travel, there are two major concerns that I hear. The first one is about safety,
And the second is about eating alone.
I'm here to address the second one head on. I have eaten at countless restaurants by myself, and I've put together a few tips that have helped me push through anxiety and dine alone.
So if you're new to solo travel or you just want to figure out how to eat alone at a restaurant, this video is for you.
Starting small is usually my philosophy for a lot of things in life, because how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Here's the thing, dining alone is going to be a part of any solo trip. Can you avoid it? Yes. Are there solo trips where you don't have to eat alone? Yes. However, if you plan on solo traveling often, like you really want to make this a thing, there will come a time when it will just be you, that restaurant, and yourself. Now, if you've never solo dined before or you're about to take your first solo trip, there are things that you can do to prepare yourself. Start by going to coffee or breakfast by yourself, then lunch, then work your way up to dinner. Starting with something a little more casual, like breakfast or lunch, takes a little bit of the pressure off. And also, when you start this way, you can start identifying the emotions that come up and how you feel when you're doing this by yourself. And then from there, you can anticipate how you may feel when you're actually on your solo trip, and ways to make yourself feel better and handle these emotions when you're actually on your trip.
Go to the restaurant early. Something that really helped me when I first started eating alone at restaurants was to go to the restaurant early and allow the crowd to build around me. This is helpful especially for trendy or popular restaurants. So for example, if the restaurant opens at 7, you can make a reservation, or you can plan to go within the first hour of it opening. Because for me, some of the anxiety I had around eating alone was I didn't want to show up to a crowded restaurant and then have to make my way to a table and sit down in the middle of a crowded dining room. Going early and allowing the crowd to be built around me really eased some of my anxieties that I had about eating alone at a restaurant. And sometimes now on Google Maps, it will show you if the restaurant is busy or not. It'll even show a graph based on trends and tracking and patterns. It will show you what time of the day that restaurant is usually the busiest. But sometimes it's wrong. I also feel like being early at a restaurant and then having people come and sit next to you and the crowd being built around you lends itself to strike up conversations with your neighbor more easily. I don't know why that is, but I've just found that to be the case for me. If you can't get to the restaurant close to when they open, another option for you is to go closer to when they close. Now, I'm not talking about 10 minutes before the kitchen closes, but enough time to where you can sit and enjoy your food, but you're not holding the staff up in any way. I've also found that restaurants tend to be more accommodating when you're coming a little bit closer to closing if you're one person than if you're a large party of 6, for example. My third tip in this guide to solo dining is to stop and evaluate what's real and what's not.
There's a phenomenon in psychology called the spotlight effect. It's a concept where people tend to overestimate how much other people are noticing them or paying attention to them. So here's what I want you to do. Next time you go to a restaurant, whether you're with people, you're by yourself, you're in a group, what have you, once you're seated, just sit for a second, lift your eyes, and scan the room. Then ask yourself or take a mental note, how many people are looking at me? How many people are noticing me? I've done this a couple of times, and I feel like it helps relieve some of my anxiety and get me out of my head. Because what I notice is that no one actually cares. People were talking to the other people that they came with. People were on their phones, just occupied with other things, occupied with their own life. Stop, evaluate, and think about what's really real versus what you may be building up in your head. Because remember, our perceptions aren't always reality, or certainly not the whole story. And also try to remember that this is one of several meals that you're gonna have in your life. If you're finding this video helpful, please give it a like. If you're not used to spending a lot of time by yourself or eating by yourself and you feel like you might be triggered watching people eat with others, then this next tip is for you. Bring an activity and do that while you eat. This can be anything from reading a book to doodling on an iPad, catching up on emails on your phone, and doing an activity is a nice little distraction that can sometimes take your mind off of the fact that you are eating alone. There are so many different dining establishments that you can choose to eat at, and some are going to give you more anxiety than others. And so sometimes when I'm solo traveling and I feel particularly anxious about eating alone at a restaurant for whatever reason, I will tend to pick more casual restaurants. These are restaurants that are usually more laid back, less formal, and sometimes they specialize in one thing like burgers, pizza, tacos. So for example, I took a
solo trip to Mexico City. And at this point in my life, I would consider myself to be a pretty well-seasoned solo traveler. But for whatever reason, I was feeling really anxious and self-conscious about eating alone at a restaurant. I don't know if it was because it was around the time of my birthday and this was technically a little birthday trip to myself. I don't know what it was, but I was not feeling sitting alone at a restaurant. And of course, you know, I had a whole list of places that I wanted to try. So I had to recognize the discomfort that I felt and adjust accordingly. So what I did was pretty much throughout the entire trip, I only ate street food or at really casual restaurants. A ton of tacos, I did a street food tour, and I had an incredible time and I ate some really, really good food. Maybe on the next solo trip that I take to Mexico City, I might be in a different emotional state, a different mental state, and I might be okay and more comfortable with being in a nicer restaurant, but this just wasn't the trip for it. And that's okay. And sometimes you have to recognize that and pivot and adjust as the trip goes on. Along with choosing your restaurant wisely, you also want to choose where you sit in the restaurant wisely. So be strategic about where you sit. I feel like there are certain spots in restaurants that are a little less intimidating for solo travelers. And some of those places for me have been, for example, the bar. I love sitting at the bar. I feel like the bar is a solo diner's dream because in a way, I feel like it's almost designed for people who are eating alone. You can chat it up with your neighbor who's sitting next to you, or you can just keep your head down and focus on yourself. And a lot of bars usually have TVs, so there is a built-in distraction already there for you. And most bars are usually built against a wall. So I feel like it's less intimidating because your focus isn't the main dining room. Although the bar may be centered in the main dining room, your focus isn't there because it's against a wall. Does that make sense? Just because you sit at the bar doesn't mean you have to order alcohol. You can order a non-alcoholic drink and have a nice meal at the bar. However, if you are staying away from alcohol, the bar might not be the best choice for you. So just use your own judgment and do what's best for you. Another great spot that I have found for solo dining is to find a little nook in the restaurant. Some restaurants have small tables that are built against the wall in a corner somewhere, and some of them are even against the window where you have a nice little view. And these are perfect spots for solo diners. And that's one of the perks of going early because you can snag those spots without a problem. I also think another great spot for solo travelers is any sort of patio or outdoor space. That always feels less intimidating to me. And I think it's because oftentimes the patio or the outdoor space is away from the main crowd, especially in the springtime and the summertime where the weather is nicer. I just feel more comfortable being in my own little spot outside on a patio. Have grace for yourself and own it. Our society is structured around coupling and groups. Food is often something that tends to bring people together. I mean, there's so many cultures around the world that gather around food. I mean, think about the holidays and how many food gatherings there are. So it's totally normal and understandable that you might feel anxious about eating alone, especially if you're doing it for the first time. I truly believe that all of us as humans are wired and created for human connection and intimacy. It's just something that we all need. Give yourself grace and know that you're not the only person that feels that way, or you're not the only person that's going through these emotions and anxieties. Like I said in this video, I solo travel a lot and I still get nervous about eating alone at a restaurant. That solo trip that I was telling you about earlier in Mexico City, that was 9 months ago. So yeah, it happens. It can fluctuate like many things. So it's totally normal, in my opinion, to feel uncomfortable about stepping out on your own and doing something that you normally do with other people and that our society promotes doing with other people, that you're now finding yourself doing it by yourself. So give yourself a little grace about how you might be feeling about it. Own it, honey, embrace it, and find confidence in it. Now, I know this is easier said than done, but something that has helped me is I try to remember that I may never, ever see those people ever again for the rest of my life. Plus, the more you do it, the more you might enjoy it, or the more you might just get used to it. I went from a girl who was nervous and scared. I mean, I could not even go and stand in the school lunch line in high school by myself, to now I am having fine dining meals by myself. And if I can do that, you most certainly can too. If you've never solo traveled before, there are a few things that you might want to consider taking on your first solo trip, and you can check out those things right here in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.